will be presenting a cultural and equity study results from Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, specifically the Deaf Middle School located in St. Augustine, Florida. FSDB is a unique school that serves deaf, blind, and deafblind students located in St. Augustine, Florida. It's a tuition-free school. Our kids come here. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is served. They can live on campus completely free. We serve more than 1,000 students. That's not all on campus. Some of those students are from our parent-infant program, where we go out into the community and serve students. We have small class sizes. We have specialized instruction to meet the needs of our sensory impaired learners. We have specialized instruction where 100% of our kids have an IEP. We have an ASL specialist. We have a bilingual specialist. We have math and literacy specialist. We have a healthcare center. We have OT, PT, everything you can imagine to serve our students. We also have residential and day students. So some of our students come in from all over the state of Florida on Sundays. They live on campus in dorms during the week and then go home on Fridays. And some of our other students just come to and from school on a bus every day and live in the surrounding counties around us. When talking about FSDB, that's the district as a whole. The district has many schools inside of it. There's a deaf elementary school, a deaf middle school, a deaf high school, blind elementary, blind middle, blind high school, as well as our continuing ed courses and our early learning center. This study focused on the deaf middle school. We are a small population of about 83 students. That fluctuates here and there. We have admissions and withdrawals. We have 14 teachers, 4 instructional assistants, and like I mentioned before, a bunch of specialists that serve our students. When looking at the demographics for deaf middle school, 52.5% are white. The rest are other ethnicities and races. Also, when looking at our residential and day population, that's really interesting to see that about 59% of our students reside in the dorm and the others are day students. So it's sometimes surprising how many residential students we have, but it's pretty evenly split right now for our school. Also, when looking at school achievement, you can see that we use measures of academic progress. So the thing about deaf students is many are language deprived or don't realize they're deaf until they're 3, and all of that really great language that kids get as littles does not happen for our students. A lot of our students, some of our students it does, but many of our students do not get that. Therefore, taking a standardized test that is on 8th grade reading level or 7th grade reading level when the student is multiple grade levels behind is not an accurate measure of their progress. So we like to use our district assessment, which is measures of academic progress that's given 3 times a year. So a lot of our students make any growth, but less than half of our students meet their targeted growth for the year. This is something we focus on and we work on. And it's really hard to make up so many years of growth for our students, but it is definitely an area that we always strive to work on and to help our students make this growth as measured by measures of academic progress. As I mentioned previously, many of our students struggle on the state exam from being so behind linguistically and on their reading levels. So when looking at our subgroup data based on that assessment, you can see that many of our students are in need and below that index. Our students with disabilities are, and they have been for at least a year. Our Black African American students are as well, and they have been for at least 2 years. Our Hispanic students are as well. Our white students and our economically disadvantaged students. The other thing to note is because of our small numbers, some of our other populations might be as well, but because there are too few students in that subgroup, they cannot do the correct statistics and calculations. So now we'll focus on the study results. The people I questioned were the entire department. 6 people responded, and remember our department's small. There's only 14 teachers, 4 instructional assistants, as well as a handful of support staff. So this is based on 6 people responding. And from them, they're all unfortunately hearing. I was hoping to get some of my deaf teachers to respond, but they gave some good insight onto the culture and equity of Florida School for the Deaf and Blind Deaf Middle School. As noted in the questionnaire, one of our great strengths is an environment that is respectful and inclusive to all students, and this is really our focus on including students with disabilities. It's the #1 priority of our school. We focus daily on how to make everything meet the needs of our students, so it's not surprising that this is a strength for FSDB. It is also noted that the deaf middle school does a good job of validating and valuing the similarities and differences among staff and among our students. All of those polled also agree that our ELL students are serviced by our programs. Where we see some differences now are our students' placement in gifted and advanced courses. We really don't have a lot of gifted and advanced courses offered for our students. We can, and we partner with Florida Virtual School to do so, but that's an area of need. Another area of need noted on the questionnaire is the need for quality programs for discipline. All of those polled also agree that our extracurricular and sports activities are accessible for our students. This is honestly a main reason many of our deaf students join our school, because they do not have the access to the sports in the public school program, but they do here at FSDB. When looking at extracurricular, academic, and social clubs, a lot of that starts in high school for our students and less so in middle school. So it has been noted as a targeted need for our students. We have robotics club, we have a gardening club, but we don't have many after school extracurricular clubs. We have Battle of the Books during school as well, but that is a need for our area. Lastly, our school is rich in professional development. We really have so much access to many resources, many people coming on campus, many trainings. However, it is noted in this that many of those trainings are lacking a focus on diversity. That yes, we're trained in best practices for teaching deaf, hard of hearing students, but not about other diverse issues. Now we're going to look at the voices of the respondents and the short answers that those who took the poll and the questionnaire answered. Some of our strengths about our inclusive environment are our required mental health trainings for students to help reduce the stigma and teach tolerance. Teachers also have been trained in universal design for learning and incorporate that often into their lesson plans. Trainings and opportunities for teachers are presented in a variety of methods to meet the linguistic needs of our deaf, hard of hearing teachers as well as our hearing teachers. Also, our students all have a positive behavior intervention and supports, as well as interpreters and language facilitators. We also include our parents and have access to so many translators for any event, whether it be an IEP meeting, a letter that needs to go home, a phone call home. And then we have a frequent check-in with staffs about creating a safe environment. The one area of need as far as the inclusive environment are more trainings on inclusivity for LGBTQ community, multiracial students, and our low socioeconomic students. Again, we focus so much on inclusiveness for our students who are deaf, hard of hearing, but how can we incorporate more of the diverse topics that we need to include? So when looking at the equitable opportunities for our students are grouped on reading level, and that helps us differentiate our instruction in the classroom to meet their needs. Services are provided for our students who don't have a permanent home residence, as well as communication access for all classes and at all events. And we have a plethora of technology resources that really help improve the access for both students and parents and really all stakeholders. The areas of opportunity in this are more club offerings, which we mentioned before, for after-school academic and social clubs at the middle school level, as well as other activities for those not interested in sports. Next, the questionnaire focused on diversity, motivation, and student achievement. Our strengths were that diverse topics was one of the criteria we used when adopting our new ELA curriculum. Also, incentives for students are based on their interests, as well as we used our Title I funds to diversify our classroom libraries last year. Again, another area of opportunity is more training on cultural diversity. The last area is professional development, and again, this is such a strength for FSDB. We have Literacy Live presentations monthly. We have Literacy Anywhere. We have a strong emphasis on differentiation. All teachers are required to be ESOL endorsed. We have PLCs and data chats with each other and with our students. Again, because of the students all having IEPs and everybody having a special need, we focus on growth and achievement, but not always with the lens related to diversity. So that, again, is a great area of opportunity for the deaf middle school. I had the pleasure of interviewing the principal of the deaf department, so she oversees the deaf elementary, middle, and high school, and asked her about how to create a respectful and safe and inclusive environment and what her role was. She said it's really important to understand the appropriate policies and practices and have them in place with continual review. She said make sure to pay attention to the broader picture and the trends in order to ensure there's always a safe and inclusive environment. When asked about academic growth and achievement and her role in that, she says monitoring data and teacher practices. She expanded that comes from the APs who do the classroom walkthroughs and the observations, and she reads over all of that data to see what is going on. Lastly, when asking about equitable opportunities, She said to make sure there's adequate programming coupled with adequate staff training. And staff training, again, is a strength. She wants to make sure all programs are high interest and value added. Deaf Middle School already has some practices in place for access and inclusion, and those include a focus on character. FSDB has a strong character education program as well as PBIS, and it develops the capacity to live responsibly as noted by Gorton et al. Also, there's climate surveys done regularly for both all stakeholders, really students, parents, and staff, to give feedback and address areas of opportunity. There is a plethora of professional development and program that provides knowledge and skills to the teachers. And there's a focus on the individual. Because of the special population at FSDB, there's a strong sense of focus on individual needs, and there's a no one size fits all approach. Measures of progress are done in many different ways, and it's no one measure used to assess growth for all students. Based on the study results, there are some recommendations for how to include or improve their access to inclusion. And that includes broadening the view. Many times throughout the survey, we know we focus on students with disabilities, but to broaden the view to become equal experts across student differences, especially focusing on cultural differences, that's a huge need. Another is self-assessments. It would be great for teachers and staff to take cultural competence self-assessments and have challenging discussions based on those results to help change some of our perspectives and broaden our view. Another idea is to do book studies and to choose a book on a topic of diversity and equity to, again, engage in those discussions. Lastly, we need to raise the critical consciousness of our students and engage them in lessons about power and privilege and social justice, and really being mindful of how we are intentionally putting those in our lesson plans and in our curriculum. Overall, FSDB is a unique school, rich in resources, rich in diversity, and with a few changes to practice and a little bit more attention on more than just disability diversity, FSDB can do great things.